G'day, bird nerds. Tuesday. I've been out looking at a couple of nurseries this morning. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. Um, I don't have a lot for you today. Um, I I kind of don't want to get depressed about the lack of action that I'm seeing, but I did want to show you what's happening currently in New Zealand, Aotearoa, which really mimics what's likely to happen here, I think, in terms of conservation and environment legislation. Actually, in New Zealand, they've actually got a conservation minister and an environment minister. That's good, isn't it? Um, it's good that you've got both, provided they do something. Kicking it off, though, I didn't do first seen and heard yesterday, and I might just get my first seen and heard bird for the morning out of the way. So let's do that. First seen bird this morning was the spotted dove, but the first heard bird this morning was the Australian magpie. Now, as I mentioned, I've just been out. I had to go and buy some hardware that I couldn't source locally. So I had to go to the big green and red hardware shed. It gave me an opportunity to look around their nursery, and so disappointing, the lack of range in their native section, and also looking at their ground cover and hedging sections and whatnot. But pleasantly surprised by some interesting plants, but a real lack of variety. But while I was there, there's a train station right near the one I go to, and I saw a pied currawong in Footscray being mobbed by noisy miners and chased away. I saw far more variety of birds closer to the city than I do out where I am, which is 7 or 8 train stations further away, maybe 6 train stations further away. So that was pretty amazing. So yeah, there we go. Now let me get back to what I was looking at. I have to go back here. Just let me. Here we are. I've got the little ticker going down the bottom there. Usually I ask guests. Oh, and I hope you caught up with the conversation I had yesterday with Gregory Andrews about his climate action protests in Canberra recently. That was fun. That was a fun conversation. So yeah, that was yesterday. Tomorrow, Claire Hawkins comes back. It's a couple of years since I've spoken to Claire. So we're talking Where We're Wedgie, citizen science monitoring project in Tasmania for the Tasmanian subspecies of the wedge-tailed eagle. But because it's regular surveying of allotted grids, they're also monitoring other things. Now, it's 2 weekends over the year. The first weekend was last weekend, and the second weekend is next weekend. I'll be talking to Claire tomorrow, and we'll talk about what's been happening over the couple of years, what the results might have told us, and whether there was anything interesting in last week's surveys. So that's that. On let me just get them all out of the way too. On Thursday, 9 a.m. I'm speaking with Anne Goth, or Gotha, talking about brush turkeys. Now, Anne has a book out called Amazing Annoying Birds about brush turkeys, urban brush turkeys. And she's also got a book about brush turkeys for the kids market. So we're going to talk about both of those. But we'll talk about sort of megapodes, brush turkey, their interaction with in urban spaces, whether they're misunderstood. We'll just talk about brush turkeys. So there we go. Now, what I wanted to show you was something that I've been following, and this is a hot issue in New Zealand, Aotearoa, and what I want to show
We're trying to change the system. I make no apologies.
They got a new government in New Zealand, and they're trying to bring in, and it's a Conservative government, and they're trying to bring in some legislation that would allow fast-track approvals for anything they dub major projects, and that ministers would be able to override the scientific and environment advice that they get about these projects. So we have a Q&A program in Australia. New Zealand also has Q&A, and if you're in the UK, it's basically what your question time program is. Now, this is one of the ministers on question time, and I just want to let you hear what they are saying, and we can just let it hang there, and you can appreciate, I hope, why I am exasperated and upset at what's going on here in Australia. So, here we are.
We're trying to change the system. I make no apologies for it. We are deliberately disrupting the system.
We will no longer have onerous, unworkable water regulations.
These kind of reversals we don't really have time for, a lot of damage can happen in a reversal.
The fast-track approvals bill giving 3 ministers sweeping power to greenlight projects is currently before the Environment Select Committee. This lawyer and author insists EDS is not anti-mining or anti-energy projects. It's about putting them in the right place.
If there is a mineral, if there is a mining opportunity, and it's impeded by a blind frog, goodbye, Freddie.
That's really saying that other species don't matter. Do these guys really want to see species going extinct on their watch? People are told, well, it's your job, or it's the environment, or it's the economy, or it's the environment. These really short-term and false dichotomies. It's not.
Yes, so the concern for me is that this is how the conversation is always set up. And it was really well put. Oh, it's either your job or it's as the stupid minister in New Zealand said, or it's the blind frog. I know I always bring it back to the basic question about why do we protect something? And people generally don't have an answer, a clear, coherent answer about why we have the legislation to protect particular species or particular ecosystems or locations or particular habitats, vegetation communities, however the things are defined. They'll use vague terms like it's important. It's important. Well, which species are important? Very few people actually will take the argument, even though we've had a minister that has said no new extinctions. If we say no new extinctions, and as Gregory Andrews pointed out yesterday, her language has been very careful. She hasn't been talking about extinctions in the wild. So, if there is a insurance population in captivity, and they're not extinct, well, then she's still fulfilling her pledge. It's all a bit cynical, but if any species is important enough to protect, and you haven't said because of the value to tourism, or because it's a potential food resource, or because it may be a potential source of as yet unknown, undiscovered medicinal value. If you're just saying that things have an intrinsic value, species, ecosystems, communities, what natural communities, if your take is in general that those things are of value and should be protected, then the idea that a minister is going to override scientific advice about the protection of a species or a habitat, a community, it's all a bit silly, to my mind. Anyway, that was the thing I wanted to get to. Let me say hellos. Hello, those on Twitter X Twitter. Hello, YouTubes. Nice to see you. We've had some Facebooks jumping in and out, I notice. Hi. I have a little question scrolling along the bottom. I would love your input, because your input will mean that we'll be here a little bit longer and we can get to know each other. I haven't asked for a while. If you've been listening to the podcast over the years, you know that most of my guests get asked what's the best bird, or some form of what's your favourite bird. So I'm wondering, do you have a favourite bird? And if so, has it changed recently or ever? And would you like to tell me what your favourite bird is, and if it has changed, why, and what to? That would be cool. Oh, I've just got a reply on my Twitter. Actually, let me pop this up. I just noticed this because I like to look at my Twitter as we go along. Raven Murmur. Let me zoom in on this so you can actually read it. Fully expecting Plibersek to soon express exasperation at Australian environmentalists not showing enough or even any gratitude for what she has done, in the same spirit that Scott suggested women should be grateful that they're not being shot while protesting, as they do in some other countries. Yeah, too right. I'm fully expecting there to be a lot of backlash shortly about about the way us I don't even want to say us lefties. I think it's people who are have conservation at the core of their being. I'm just going to have a look through and see. Oh wow! Oh, here's a great. I'll put this up too. This is basically all I want to do today, is just look at some fun, nice things. Henry Cook. I was up in the Pilbara a week ago or so ago on a survey. One of the highlights was seeing disjunct occidentalis race of the blue-winged kookaburra. They differ by having a blue tail and an unmarked head. Really handsome birds. Fantastic. I do love the blue-winged kookaburra. I love their call too. Oh yes, here we go. Let's listen to this. This is a bird survey on farmland in the UK. I'll just get it back to the start and turn the volume up. There we are. Volume is up. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, so what have we got there, Megan? Willow warblers, garden warblers, chiff-chaff, goldfinches. I'm listening for the goldfinches. They sound different to the goldfinches we have here, even though they're the same species. They probably evolved a different a lot of calls since they were introduced here. Also, sad day, whistleblower, David McBride blowing the whistle on war crimes by Australian forces in Afghanistan, and for because telling the truth about things that happen in wartime apparently breaks official secrets. He's been jailed for 6 years. Very terrible terrible stuff. Oh, this is interesting. Just, sorry, I'll have to read that. Evaluation of trial reintroductions of two extinct in the wild reptile species, and I think it's on the Chatham Islands. Which islands? On Christmas Island. Well, I definitely do need to read that one. There we are. John Winarski is involved in that one too. Interesting. Interesting. I'll show you this one too. I hope you have listened at some stage or watched Martin Ty and I talking about degrowth. Well, budget day here in Australia, Martin has said, time we redefined growth and devised new metrics to measure it. And I totally agree with that. Honey buzzard. Just see if we can. Here we go. I'm going to leave all the budget conversation until I see what's in it and see what there is for conservation and environment. Oh, here we go. Here's an interesting one. Tracking Australian painted snipe. Project. This endangered Australian painted snipe is right now smack bang in the middle of the proposed fracking fields in the Beetaloo Basin. There we are. I have reached out to Matt to talk about how the Tracking Australian Painted Snipe project is going. Hopefully I'll follow up and see how we go with that. What have we got? Stan. Hello, Stan. New Holland honeyeater for favourite bird. I like watching the flock that lives in my garden. Stan, tell me how big is your flock? I was actually, while I was watching the noisy miners harassing the pied currawong, I was wondering when the family group then becomes a colony. I was wondering what the line is when the definition changes. I must look it up. I really like the New Holland honeyeaters here. Pugnacious little fellas, always punching above their weight when they're defending their favourite food resources against the wattlebirds. But I'm getting more and more fond of the white-plumed honeyeater. Just because they're really, really entertaining. Really entertaining. And behave quite differently in different localities, I think. Stan, has your favourite bird changed over time? I don't think I can even say I've got a favourite bird at the moment, but certainly has changed. If you're in Perth tomorrow night, Wednesday the 15th of May, free public lecture series, Beyond Green Facades, Unpacking Nature Positive and Tackling Greenwashing in the Race to Scale Up Nature Finance. Speaker, Dr. Rachel Marshall, From Accounting to Nature. Geez, I really must... I'll bookmark that. I must chase that one up, hey? Let's just see if there's anything else I want to talk about. I don't even want to go there talking about... that's a beautiful little bird, isn't it? I'll give that a heart. Look at that. Yeah, off you go. Oh, go back. I'm messing up, aren't I? There we go. I did have Gregory Andrews on yesterday, so there we go. And we talked about climate and biodiversity advocacy, out-of-range blueface honeyeaters in Canberra, superb parrots, mallee emu wrens, and more. Yes, we did certainly talk about more. Stan, let's see. Stan's telling us there can be as many as 10, but the numbers seem to change. Yesterday, a gang of 6 had it in for a wattlebird. Yeah, I like watching them in their ongoing battle with the wattlebirds here. Not sure what that was about. It will have just been about access to the food resources, usually. New Holland honeyeater has become my favourite since living here. I've got a soft spot for the little ravens around here. But now, apart from the currawong being an interesting sighting in Footscray, which is closer to the city than I am. Now, we used to hear currawongs around here, but I'm not hearing them. Maybe as we get more into the winter, they'll start to hang. I don't generally see them here, but I often hear them in the distance. I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, I can't remember where I was going, so sorry about that. Hey, someone on Twitter/X, let me know what your favourite bird is. Now, I got to tell you yesterday. Now, since I've been live streaming to Twitter/X, frequently you get a couple of people watching, and I know that in the posting and whatnot, there's a lot of, certainly in the comments on controversial issues, a lot of the commenters are bots. But just to, at the moment, there are 3 people watching on X. Right? And that's sort of usual numbers. Between 3 and 10 is kind of usual in the live. Yesterday, there were 90 something. So if that was genuine, people like it when Gregory Andrews is on the show. That's what I can gather from that. Look, I'll show you this. This is a bit of how the sausage is made. My notes to myself on my whiteboard, I have to edit out. I said the fruity F word 3 times. So I have to edit that out. That was very, very naughty of me. I when I do my editing, I always have to run through and see how many times I've said naughty words. I try and keep the naughty words out of the podcast. I don't care on YouTube, but I think the podcast audience is much less tolerant. Oh, and the Facebook audience too. The Facebook audience don't like my fruity words. So, Stan, were you here at the start of the show? Did you see the New Zealand minister that I played? And did you get the rundown of what's coming up tomorrow and Thursday? Habitat gardening again on Saturday morning. No interview lined up. But Saturday morning's a difficult time for interviews. Well, I'll keep going. I'm trying to get some hollow people available. They all sort of say yes. We'll have a conversation, but that 9:30 on a Saturday morning seems problematic for many people. But I do want to do it live, a conversation live with them, so you all have the opportunity to ask questions. So I'll keep pushing on that. Anyway, so yeah, Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Australian Eastern, we're talking brush turkeys, and tomorrow at midday, we're talking citizen science, wedge-tailed eagles, where wedgie, the surveys in Tasmania, that nature trackers, Dr. Claire Hawkins running. So we'll be talking about how that's been going and getting a sense of what they've discovered in the couple of years since we started looking at them. Let me just see if I can find anything else interesting on the Twitters. I did. Now, Stan. So, Stan, you're referencing the New Zealand fast track bill that's currently before the Parliament there. It was depressing saying that person saying he didn't care much and I didn't have much faith in humanity these days. I guess I'm now a doomer. Yeah. I'm trying not to be a doomer too, Stan, but I listened to BBC World overnight, and I get up early and watch a whole lot of and I watch a lot of American politics, and it's so frustrating that the same tactics that they apply, that the Tories apply in Britain and in the States, then get marched out whenever there's a Tory government in New Zealand or Australia or Canada or wherever. It's just the same old. The United Nations put out a report about global wildlife trafficking yesterday, which was a bit depressing. You only caught the end of that stand. Maybe I should play it again for you so you can catch the whole thing. Let me get there. Let me full screen it. We'll play it again. This is the whole clip from the New Zealand Q&A program. So just for you, Stan, it's not Queensland, but it does hark back to the Bjorky-Peterson days. So here we go.
We're trying to change the system. I make no apologies for it. We are deliberately disrupting the system.
We will no longer have onerous, unworkable water regulations.
These kind of reversals we don't really have time for, you know. A lot of damage can happen in a reversal.
The fast-track approvals bill giving 3 ministers sweeping power to greenlight projects is currently before the Environment Select Committee. This lawyer and author insists EDS is not anti-mining or anti-energy projects. It's about putting them in the right place.
If there is a mineral, if there is a mining opportunity, and it's impeded by a blind frog, goodbye freedom.
That's really saying that other species don't matter. You know, do these guys really want to see species going extinct on their watch? People are told, well, it's your job, or it's the environment, you know, or it's the economy, or it's the environment. You know, these really short-term and false dichotomies. It's not.
Yeah. I don't want to get you depressed again, Stan, but yeah, that's I'm really interested in it because it's just a blueprint for what will happen here. Stan, here's an interesting point. I mean, you've put the Australian Labor government has been hugely disappointing. South Australian Labor is not much better. Liberal light. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I mean, sometimes I think we're all guilty of being a bit too glib, right? In the broader scheme of things, am I, as someone who is very definitely on the left of the political scale, where all my social justice tendencies and whatnot are all, you know, right down the left scale? Is it better to have a Labor government in power? Absolutely, but I think Gregory and I came to the sort of point of view yesterday that we'd much rather have the crossbench having the balance of power. Now, what the makeup of the crossbench is, you know, independents, Greens, you know, extreme left independents, some right-wing rural independents, the Teals, however it's made up, if there's a process for negotiation, that's better than having either one of the other mobs in charge. But if you do have one of the other mobs in charge, I'd rather it be the centrist left Labor variety than the blue ribbon Tory variety. But I'll tell you, I was pretty impressed that Malinauskas, who is the South Australian Labor Premier at the moment, is prepared to put the idea of stopping kids getting onto some social media. Now, I mean, that's not going to happen, but I think it's brave of him to put his head up and say, we'll try and ban it in South Australia to start a conversation. The most gutless thing for me about the environment debate, or the lack of debate that we're having. Can you hear Loz? Loz. Loz has a new home. I got Loz a nice big new home, and I've filled it with flowers and fruit today for him. Now it's too big to wheel in here, and while he's acclimatising to it, and I'm trying him out on some new foods and everything, I'm letting him spend most of the day in this massive cage while he gets confident in there and totally explores it, and he can play with balls on the floor and all that kind of stuff. So that's why he's not joining us today. But when he's more confident in, and he feels like that is his safe refuge, and he's happy coming in and out of it. So at the moment he's a bit unhappy coming in and out of it. Oh, hello, we've got someone from Twitch joining us. Gnuin. Hey there. Now, if you want to join in, we're more than happy about that. Do you have a current favourite bird? Has your favourite bird ever changed? That's the comment. That's the sort of discussion that we're having, apart from talking about conservation politics at the moment too. Back. Now I'm just going to see. I'm going to have a look at the trending posts. I'm in my Twitter now. Ozpol is trending, of course. The Attorney General, Afghanistan, Ozpol, McBride. This is trending in Australia, by the way. Jane Hume. Oh, I don't like that. Someone's just like my snarky narky on. Yeah, I'm not seeing any conservation stuff in the trending. Just bear with me as I skip through. Okay, Gnuyen, Blue Jay. So I'm guessing that you're in the US or in Canada. Now, do you have blue jays visiting your garden? I always enjoy seeing the videos on YouTube of blue jays taking peanuts from people and whatnot. They do seem like a very engaging, amusing bird. Now, for Australians who don't know about the blue jay, actually, let me get the blue jay up on eBird. We'll do that. And I've been thinking, I think the no unfortunately means you're not getting them in your garden. Okay, I'm going to see. I know there's a couple of different blue jays, so let's see what eBird tells me. Oh no, just one main blue jay. Least concern. Okay, it occurs over most of the US and the southern and central to northwestern parts of Canada. Interestingly enough, not really in Mexico, and looks like California, Nevada, maybe Arizona, missing out mostly on the blue jay. Let me just pull this up. So, Aussie bird nerds, there's the blue jay. Now, blue jays are in the corvid family, so they are sort of mini crows. I think they're very common, very similar to shrikes, Probably the closest thing in Australia would be magpie or butcherbird. I think if you're thinking a butcherbird crossed with a grey shrike thrush. Okay, while we're here, let's listen to. This is a blue jay in Hammond Hill State Forest, Tompkins, New York, 2014, from Gates DuPont.
LNS catalog number 173749.
Oh, I hope they have a nicer. Hope they have a nicer call than that. Let's see if there's a different one. Here's one with very different waveform. This is from 2022 in the Hiram Village in Oxford, Maine. Sean Smith recorded this, so very different waveform. So hopefully it's a very different call. Now, there's some notes here for this recording. Imitation of bald eagle near feeder. Does that mean the jay was imitating the bald eagle, or that... yeah, I don't know. Check out a nice bit of video of a blue jay here from 2019. Sapsucker Woods Lab Building Area, Tompkins, New York, Jay McGowan. Let's have a look at this. Oh, there we go. Short and sweet. Obviously hoeing into, I think that was some sorghum, by the look of it. So there you go. That's the blue jay. Fabo. Oh, can you? All right. Well, while I'm on eBird, I'm going to go to the wedge-tailed eagle, and actually, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to go to the where wedgie. Where wedgie. All right, let's pop this one up. Let me see. Oh, hello, Axel. So this is what we'll be talking about tomorrow at, in about 23 hours from now. We'll be talking about the Where Wedgie campaign. Share this tab. Here we go. So, let's have a look. 1,420 people have been getting involved. 55 eagles tagged. There we are. Look at this. Haven't looked at this website for a while, so let's have a squiz. Gee, Tasmania looks pretty wild, doesn't it? Nature Trackers is the Bookend Trust's overall program of citizen science projects, coordinating schools and the community to track the status of our threatened species and better understand their needs. Citizen science projects may be defined as projects in which volunteers partner with specialist scientists to answer questions about the world and how it works. So, there's the marvellous wedge-tailed eagle that they're checking out. That's all about the Bookend Trust. Now, Claire Hawkins is with the Bookend Trust. Let's have a look at the news. I haven't looked at this for a long time, so oh wow, there's so much going on since I last spoke to Claire. GPS tracking, acoustic monitoring, yeah, it's fantastic. So I think it's 2 years since I spoke to Claire about about where we're wedgie. So there'll be some results, and let you know. When I last spoke to Claire, we were talking about how recording zero wedge-tailed eagles can make you a hero. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So for those of you who are in the States or in the UK, about 23 hours, actually 22 and a half hours from now, come back, same bat time, same bat channel, and you can meet Dr. Claire Hawkins and learn all about the Where We're Wedgie surveys. All right, come on, folks. I've had. Help me with your pronunciation of Gnuon. Is it Gnuon or Gnuon? It's a very hard one. I'm used to Gnuon. I don't know. Help me out with the right pronunciation, and let me know I'm going to assume you're in the US. You may be in Canada if the blue jay is your favourite. Tell me what part of the continent you are living on. And someone from X convinced me that you're real. That would make my day. All right. Let's see, blue jay. We've done that. I'm just saying I did have. I've still got the Swift powered up from. Stan, thanks for your helpful input on pronouncing Nguyen, which is Vietnamese name. Yeah, I'm up on that. No, it's this one that it's the Twitch name. I'm struggling with this. I'm assuming it's a silent G, but I'm wondering how those vowels are sounded out. Is it noun? I mean, there's a number of ways that people might want to pronounce that, so I'd like some guidance so that I'm doing it correctly. Stan, did you catch yesterday's discussion with Gregory? Yeah. Thanks, Stan. I've got absolutely no idea, but I'm happy to give it a go. Stan, did you catch yesterday's discussion? When Gregory mentioned crossing the country on an e-bike. I mean, it matches with an idea that I've been having for a while about doing something with the e-bike and taking the show on the road, since I've got the setup basically to do the mobile thing with the Starlink setup and everything. Did you put an edition of the Kangaroo Island Astonisher out yesterday, Stan? Is that why it was a busy day? If you're here for the first time on one of the Bird Emergency live streams, Stan produces the community newspaper on Kangaroo Island, and Kangaroo Island is off the south coast of South Australia. So Stan's sometimes, I like to say calling in, but that's not really the case. Actually, regulars, I'm hoping that maybe Naomi or Glenn, or I'm hoping a few of the regulars are here. We're going to do a Dawn Chorus next week. So I'll set the day today. I've got to just check a couple of appointments, lock them in, and we'll do that. But what I was thinking is doing like a weekly sort of call-in show where we do it either through... so members and supporters will get the link to either come into Discord or to Skype. There's a couple of different ways to do it. Or come straight into here, but then I would have to distribute that link through either Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Captain Australia's Big Lap. Stan's telling me to check someone out. Stan, is he on YouTube? Is that where I'm going to go looking? Captain Australia's... Here we are, Captain Australia Big Lap. Oh, it looks like Facebook. Oh, my God. And he's got his own site. Why? No, YouTube. Okay. One old man dressed up as a superhero walking all around Australia for kids' cancer research. Okay. All right, I'm right up. I'm very, very keen on this. Going to have a look at the fundraising. 56,000 raised. Okay, well done. What's his Brisbane to Nullarbor? So we started in Brisbane. Wow, that's a okay. 730 days. So 2 years. 2 years on the road. Fantastic. Not on YouTube. Interesting. Powered by Raisley. So that's another fundraising app. Okay. Let me bring that up. There we are. So it's 100,000. So he's halfway there, and he's less than halfway around the country. How many days has he been on the road? Andrew McManus. That's interesting. I know an Andrew McManus. All right, I'm going to...
G'day, my name's Simon. I've also been called Captain Australia and one or two other things. A year ago, I walked from Brisbane to Melbourne for a charity called the Kids Cancer Project.
Oh.
It's a wonderful charity that funds paediatric cancer research to help the 1,000 Aussie kids diagnosed every year. 20% of them do not survive treatment. So that's 3 children dying in our hospitals every week. So I had a stage 4 cancer myself. I was given 6 months to live, and this is my way of reweaving hope and healing into my own life after cancer almost broke me. And that, it was so wonderful. I've learned that kindness is the antidote to sorrow, and that even if we can save but one life, we save the world entire. So it's on us to superhero up and do the best that we can with the tools that we have. And because of that, I'm now going to walk from Brisbane all the way to bloody Brisbane, the long way around, 15,000 kilometres around the perimeter of Australia. It's called CAP's Big Lap. It's for the Kids Cancer Project, and if you can find it in your heart to show some support, go to www.capsbiglap.au and make a donation today.
I like the appearance there by the
Thanks so much. Cheers. All the best.
There we are. Good on you from the Tarasian crow in the background there. Okay, well that looks pretty amazing. That's a massive undertaking, isn't it? Spending 2 years walking around Australia. Did you catch up with him, Stan, when he came past your place, past Kangaroo Island? Sorry, while I have my cold coffee with soy milk, delightful. That gives me another idea for something else. I'd like you to tell me what now for something like raising money for cancer. I think that's kind of easy. Not and that's the wrong word, but there's a very definite target, and you go for the money, and then you give it to a research institution or a medical foundation or something, and they do something with it. They conduct research, particular research, or they spread it out to, the Children's Cancer Foundation or something. Trying to do something for conservation, unless you're raising money for a specific project, I think is a little bit more difficult. Especially when I think the surveys all tell us. I mean, we looked at the Biodiversity Council. I'm going to come out of CAP's big lap and did I miss? So you read my earlier comments. Stan, I read all your comments. That's why I've checked him out. I ran into him on the Nullarbor on the side of the road on my EV trip. Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you did. He does daily updates on Facebook and does a really good job with the social media and his posts. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. God, 2 years walking around. I think you'd have. Stan, do you know, does he have a support crew with him? Like, does he have people following around and, like, supporting him? That would be interesting. Just checking the Biodiversity Council news. No, nothing particularly news there. Just want to see where that survey was. All right, I'm going to pop this up. This is what the Biodiversity Council would like to see in the budget. So I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see it a bit. All right, Stan's giving us some more info on no support crew at all. Random people have been stopping and helping him. I think it would be great to do a conservation walk or ride, but humans only seem to care about humans. Stan, what Gregory's going to do is his plan is to ride an e-bike from Perth to Sydney or to Canberra, right, to go across the country. And just on, the first I'd heard of it, I was thinking, gee, that'd be great. I'd love to do it too. So I'd need to get hold of an e-bike. But Gregory wants to do it on his own and with his mobile phone and his credit card and an e-bike and just travel across and stay in motels and stuff. I'd want to do something a bit more low tech in one way, in that I'd probably be thinking more about sleeping in, like, camping, swag, tent, e-bike, trailer, Starlink gear and the electrical gear and battery, and so that would be the idea of having a trailer behind the bike or something. And I'd want to be going to key biodiversity areas, and Gregory was wanting to do daily e-birds. Well, I think that's a great idea, but I'd like to do them with groups. But anyway, that's a bit different. But then I'm not sure. I'm just still not sure that the awareness is what we need. It's the action that we need. So I think it's going to places that are important, that are like key biodiversity areas, or places where umbrella species or icon species are found, and then bringing the community with you, like doing bird watching with a group in particular locations and making that the event, doing some bird watching or some photography and speaking. I'd certainly want to do it with someone or some people. Yeah. Anyway, I'll keep looking into it. Now, here are 9 things that the Biodiversity Council says we should look out for in the budget. 9 key elements. Do you want me to read this? It looks a bit small, so maybe I will read it. So this is 14th of May, which is today. If you're in America or somewhere, it's tomorrow. We have identified 9 key elements needed in this year's federal budget for it to stack up for nature and meet our international commitments for protecting and restoring nature. Ecosystems from the tropics to the Antarctic are collapsing, including the Great Barrier Reef and the much-loved iconic species, including the koala and pink cockatoo, have joined 2,000 others on Australia's list of threatened species. Business as usual, including piecemeal funding, will not be able to turn this catastrophe around. Governments must urgently increase investment in nature conservation. Beautiful picture of the Mallee emu wren. Nicola Brooker, nice photo there, and it's on iNaturalist. Good on you. Social research undertaken for the Biodiversity Council by Monash University found that the community would be supportive of greatly increased investment. The survey asked over 3,400 people about how much they think the Australian government should be spending on nature. Biodiversity Council lead counsellor and research co-author Professor Sarah Beckersey from RMIT University said, "Our research found that almost everyone wants the federal government to spend more on nature. 3/4 of people feel that at least 2% of the federal budget should be spent on nature. This would represent more than a 5-fold increase of current investments. This amount is what experts recommend is needed for the effective protection and recovery of nature in Australia. Spending on the protection and restoration of nature isn't just a nice-to-have item. More than half our GDP relies on natural systems, and healthy nature is vitally important for the health and well-being of people and communities. Spending on threatened and culturally significant species and ecosystems creates lots of meaningful jobs, including in regional and remote communities. The Biodiversity Council has also highlighted the need for greater transparency in government reporting about what is spent on nature protection. Total spending on nature is often buried in the detail of portfolio budget papers. It can be confusing. I've gone too far. It can be confusing to see how much money the government actually spends on the care of nature because the total amount per year is not reported like it is for other areas such as defence, says Professor Beckersey. Gee, I wonder why that is, so that nobody can check up. The fact is much less than 1% of the federal budget goes to biodiversity conservation measures, and we need to be transparent about that. Hang on, let me read this again. I've got lost. The fact is, much less than 1% of the federal budget goes to biodiversity conservation measures, and we need to be transparent about that if we are going to tackle chronic underinvestment in environment protection. I'm sure there's a transposition in there. The Biodiversity Council says Australia has consistently underinvested in the protection and recovery of its native biodiversity and has been ranked as one of the most underfunded nations when it comes to biodiversity conservation. The independent expert group, founded by 11 universities, made 9 recommendations to the Australian government during pre-budget submissions on what is needed to address the extinction crisis and to uphold international environmental obligations. Looks like a nice couscous, is it? Oh no, it's a western ringtail possum. Mark Foucher, beautiful. Here are the elements needed in the budget to improve the protection of Australia's environment. Number 1, transparency on how much is being spent on nature protection and restoration each year. Number 2, increased spending on the recovery of threatened native plants and animals to $2 billion per year. It may sound like a lot, but this is less than the GST collected on spending on pets. Currently, many species close to extinction are receiving little to no funding to tackle the key threats driving them over the brink. Number 3, invest at least $2 billion annually to drive ecosystem restoration across Australia's degraded lands. Yeah, that's I reckon that'd be equal number 2, I would say. This is number 4, increase a $5 billion fund to purchase land with high biodiversity values. This is essential for Australia to meet a commitment to conserve 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. 2030 is only 6 years away. I mean, effectively it's 5 years away, because this year we haven't even got started on anything this year. So this year's a write-off, and would be a major investment for future generations. Number 5, support the creation of new Indigenous protected areas, IPAs, and adequately resource First Peoples rangers and groups to care for country. Many regions and ecosystems are poorly represented in the National Reserve Network. IPAs currently receive much less funding per hectare than national parks. Yeah. Number 6, greater support for private land conservation programs, such as those involving conservation covenants. Yeah, as long as there's a fair income covenant, I'm all for that. I'm not really into flinging public money to private landholders where there doesn't become some ability to ensure protection. So a covenant, I think, is really important. Number 7, provide $88 million over 5 years for the feral cat threat abatement plan to fund the delivery of high and very high priority actions in the national plan. Yeah, that one's massively important. Number 8, resource the reform of Australia's 25-year-old national environment laws. The laws are widely acknowledged as ineffective at protecting the environment, cumbersome for business, and missing consideration of climate impacts. See our law reform recommendations. So that's a whole nother topic. Number 9, reform Australia's fuel tax credits to meet an international commitment to remove subsidies for activities that harm the environment. The Australian government currently spends $10 billion, 1.4% of the budget, on fuel tax credits. If redeployed, it could cover the cost of all of the above recommended areas of spending. Oh, how would you ever do it? Stan is telling me, in relation to my kind of idea and Gregory's idea, I'm on a mission to drive my EV around Australia to show how easy it is and convince people to give up fossil fuel. It's just me and the dog. I'm heading up to Broome in August. Fantastic. Great that you've got the freedom and flexibility to do it. This gives me an idea of something to. I'm just finding more things to talk about. That might be a good thing to talk about for the weekend on habitat gardening. Oh. Okay. All right. Now, I would love to hear some more people's favourite birds, and have you changed your favourite birds? We've got the blue jay. We've got the New Holland honeyeater from Stan. I keep changing. I love it when I see the red rump parrots around here. They always fill my heart with joy. Oh. When I was a kid, I think I've said a lot on the show and on the podcast that the eastern yellow robin was my favourite. I've got a soft spot for the daggy brush turkey that we will be talking about on Thursday at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Just checking the notifications on the phone. Look, I haven't got a whole lot more I want to talk about now. I need to invite many more people on the show, and it takes time to do that and follow up and all that. So I think we might get into that shortly. Stan, I need to get you on the show to talk about your plan to drive the EV around Australia. That might be fun. Why don't we do that? Let me know when you're free. Can I send you a DM on the Twitter? Not on the Twitter, on the YouTube. Yeah, I'll do that. That would be good. All right. Oh wow, people on all the platforms. That's nice. Nice of you to be here. If you don't know, I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. Now, Lemmy, but Mbonagaba Lemmy. Did I get that right? Thank you for the thumbs up, the like on Facebook. Where are you from? In the comments, tell us where you're from. Where are you from? Do you have a favourite bird? And if you do, we can do the same process that we did about the blue jay. Stan, it's probably only fair that I would do the eBird for so we can share the New Holland Honeyeater. Don't you think we should do that? So I'll just do that. Now, folks, I'm just going to share this tab and pull this up. That is Stan's current favourite bird, the New Holland Honeyeater. Very familiar garden bird in South and East Australia. Let's have a look at the range map. There we are. So if you're overseas, you can see that it is a south and east and west. I didn't realise it was so so common in southern Western Australia as well. Now let's just see. Okay. Now let's large map. I want the large map. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sign in. I want to go back. So there we are. I was going to try and explain where your place was, Stan, but for the overseas listeners, if you see right in the ocean at the bottom of Australia, there it says Great Australian Bight. There we are. Now, you see where it says Great Australian Bight? If you go straight across to the right, now you can actually see the hand there, can't you? You can see that. So Stan is from where the hand is, where I'm moving the cursor. That's Kangaroo Island. So that's where Stan's from. And if I come back and I come across, and that's where I am. I'm in Melbourne for the overseas listeners, or watchers. Yeah. Let's play. Oh, I'm going to play a New Holland Honeyeater recorded in June 2022 by Jim Holmes near me. Let's do that. Now that's just a general chatter. What about this one? Now I think that's feeding young birds. Let's have a listen to one from 2012, Nicholas Talbot in Royal Park. Oh, there we go. Did you like that last one, Stan? That's the they got the dog going. She thinks there's New Holland Honeyeaters in the house. Yeah, they're oh. Here we go. There's a good shot of the New Holland Honeyeater vocalising. Yeah, when they get going. They're a striking bird, aren't they? Oh, here we go. Nick Talbot's got some great shots. Oh, here's a good one for the overseas. Oh, this is I love eBird for this. Nicholas Talbot again. This is Wonthaggi, 2007. Gee, good on you, Nick Talbot. You've been doing this for a long time. Let's have a look at this group. There we go. So that was good, wasn't it? Okay, that's plenty of bird stuff. Okay. Does anyone else want to share their favourite bird? You can hear. Can you hear Loz in the background? He's keeping himself very very happy out there. All right. I'm just having a look. Folks, I was just checking. I've been wondering why I was not getting any Twitter comments, and that's because apparently, even though a while ago I could get Twitter comments, but now apparently I can't. So I would need to open up my Twitter and go to my okay, so I can see it. So I'm just looking at my Twitter on my phone. Okay. Sorry, I have been asking people on Twitter to engage, and it looks like I can't. Let me. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a way I can. That's a shame. I'm sorry about that because unless I go to the profile, let's have a look. I can unpin that. Highlights. I've got to do a premium for that. No, I don't know how to make that work. So even though I yeah. What about if I go down here? Does this tell me anything? No. Bookmarks. Create your space. That's very depressing. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Now, Stan's got a question. One question quickly. It's very dry here. I was thinking of feeding the fairy wrens like my friend does. Good idea. Okay, Stan, feeding the fairy wrens. Tell me what you were considering feeding them, and I'll tell you whether it's a good idea. And could I feed the New Holland honey eaters? Would that be beneficial or not? Okay. Let me. I'll pop this up, and I'm just going to go and grab two things. I'm going to grab a few things, and then I'm going to give you some ideas. So I should put. All right, Stan, that's great. That is exactly what I was going to suggest. Is what you should, if you're going to feed any of those omnivores and insectivorous birds, that is exactly what I would recommend that you get. So I have here for Loz, I have two different lorikeet mixes, lorikeet / honey eater mixes, and I have pellets as well. And I'm going to get another lorikeet and honey eater mix, which is more a rearing mix. Now, all of those are suitable for feeding, nectar feeding birds, but you've got to be really careful that you only put out a fairly small amount each time. The mixtures, especially in sunlight on a warm day, can go off really quickly. So you want to be putting small amounts out so they eat it all, and then refilling if you want. Certainly don't do any of the syrup mixes. You know, the home brew recipes that you can see out there. Bad. There are feeders which are preferable, like you can get feeders with little tubes and things. Yeah, Stan, that's a really good idea. You can also get the most supermarkets now are ranging an acceptable bird food. The brand, it's made by Trill, and the brand that you see in most of the honey eaters is Harmony. That is fine for lorikeets and honey eaters. Bearing in mind, if you're getting lorikeets coming, you want to probably have a few feeding stations spread out so that, because parrot beak and feather disease is out there, you don't want, you see those videos where someone's put a big dish out and you've got 50 lorikeets fighting to get at the same dish. You don't want that kind of feeding. Even though it looks good, it's a great photo, and you get hundreds of lorikeets congregating together. You don't want that. You want them to be dispersed so that any risk of spreading beak and feather disease is reduced. And of course, you need to be cleaning every time birds visit. You then need to be cleaning the receptacles if you've got parrots coming in. I'd also suggest that you want the honey eaters to be feeding from feeders that are sort of designed for their tongue and their beak to get into, not the same places that the lorikeets are feeding. I know I'm setting up a scenario and not trying to make it a perfect world, but yeah, if it's possible, try and find one of those feeders with the little tube outlet where the honey eaters can come and just stick their tongue up, and it's not a conducive place for the lorikeets to feed, so you can spread them out as well. I'm not sure if sharing food like that might mean that the virus can be transmitted by a non-target species to other receptacles. I don't actually know, but I would want to minimise that risk. Yeah. Twitters, I'm really sorry that I can't get your comments and I can't reply to them. So I guess the best way, if you do want to interact with the stream, and I'm really sorry if I was saying yesterday, I really want some comments from Twitter. I've only just looked at, it's a new thing. StreamYard used to show me the comments on Twitter, but Elon's broken so many things. They obviously don't play nice together. So I do have Twitter open on my big screen and also on my phone. So just by tagging Bird Emergency at Bird Emergency, I'd get the notification. So that's probably the best way if you want to interact. And I'm sorry I was calling people out yesterday going, my God, there's 90-something of you here and nobody's commenting. I did see plenty of people sharing and stuff yesterday, which was great. I'm just looking through to see if there's... just looking to see if there's... I'm just looking through Twitter because all the journos, I think, are about to go into the lockup. So we'll start getting the So David McBride got 5 years, 2-year non-parole period. That's terrible. Wow. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the crap that's on again. Oh, here we go. All right, I want to show this tweet. Just Queensland Conservation Council. Surviving the rough and tumble of environmental campaigning for 30 years has made our coal and gas campaigner Ben Pennings, and I suggest that you follow Ben Pennings on Twitter/X. So it's made Ben Pennings pretty tough, but witnessing firsthand the ecological destruction by coal billionaires in central Queensland had him in tears. Yeah, that's development, folks. Look at that. Anyway, I probably don't need you to look at what's being lost. There's Biodiversity Council. Okay, I'm not saying that. Australia is a global deforestation hotspot driven primarily by the beef industry. Yeah. Oh, what a knob. Senator Gerard Rennick. The Great Barrier Reef is not dying. The only thing is dying is the integrity of our scientific institutions. Back in 2019, at my first ever Senate inquiry, I asked the Australian Institute of Marine Science if they had a centralised database of health KPIs based on regular measurements across the length of reef that demonstrated a trend that demonstrated that the reef was dying. Of course, the answer was no. It beggars belief that billions have been spent on saving the reef, yet the government and the rent-seeking scientists. What a joke. Imagine calling scientists rent seekers and not miners who profit from the reef haven't actually got any evidence to prove their claims. But that's not all. Numerous studies claiming the reef is dying have been debunked. In another Senate inquiry, one scientist claimed that there was coal dust all over the reef, when in fact the study was flawed. Was this scientist locked up for misleading the Senate? Of course not. Well, that's because senators get locked up for misleading the Senate. So subtweeted by, or where is it? I've got to go back. So subtweeted by Terry Hughes. This guy has the IQ of a newt. Prof. Terry Hughes. He's using parliamentary privilege to defame scientists while making a fool of himself. Let's see how the replies went on. And this is the standard of debate, which it gets a bit harsh on newts. Jesus, some shit on Twitter now. No amount of evidence will ever persuade an idiot. I love these idiots who've got like a handful of horrors. don't know about integrity, but he is absolutely right that the Great Barrier Reef is in no danger. For reference, just 9,000 years ago, it was dry land. Yeah, okay, cool. So many. Who's this idiot? 113 followers. Okay. Free Speech Union of Australia. Block. Not interested in them. Successfully blocked. I don't want to know about your... Oh, this is the most annoying thing about Twitter. I'm not upgrading. Oh, you've got to... who's that idiot? Jeez. And of course you get an Incitec fertilizer ad. God, that's why I don't even get into the comments usually on Twitter now. It's just pathetic. Okay, what other things have I missed out on? Michelle Villa with more bird flu. I'll share that one because that's important. All right. Gregory getting in on the ministers again. Oh, what are these little falcons? What are they? Falconets or something. They're pretty cool, aren't they? Let's see what they actually are. Someone will tell me what they are. Mikado birds. I don't know. By Bitcoin, I don't think so. Pygmy falcon. Raccoon bird. What are you thinking? Pied falconet. Oh, there we are. Pied falconet. There we are. The pied falconet. What a cool bird. Okay. All right, new comments. Stan hasn't been on Twitter for over a year. You do have a power wall. What's a power wall? You have to explain that to me. Stan, I want to leave Twitter, but the problem is that's where the greatest penetration for me is on social media. And the interaction is still... So bird Twitter is still a pretty safe space. But, I mean, whenever I get into any thread, it's just full of rubbish ads. I just have to block everything. And there's all these morons who have got like 5 followers or 30 followers who reckon everything that is about climate change or ecology, they're just idiots. So Oh, here we are. Sandy, I'll share that. Sandy Horn was interviewed on ABC Radio. That was about her shots of the aurora. Gee, that's awful. All right. I'd need to get Simon Holmes of Court to tell me more about this, but Japan is starting apparently Japan is starting up one of its nuclear power stations again. Let's see. Okay. So they're going to restart the nuclear facilities that they already have. And 685 followers on Threads, Stan. That's pretty cool. I'm still not sold on Threads. Like, it was really great for about a month, and then it kind of died in the arse. But I'll get back on that. So it looks like Japan is actually going to take dozens of tons of Australian uranium each year and forsake millions of tons of coal and gas from Australia, because they're going to be scaling back their coal and gas powered power plants, because they're going to restart their nuclear ones. And it's a really interesting conversation, the nuclear one. Now, countries where they already have a nuclear power industry, I think it's preferable for them to run nuclear. Now, the issue about what to do with the waste has never been solved. So that needs to be solved. There is a risk inherent in running nuclear power stations. Where you don't have nuclear power stations, I think that you don't need them, because there are better options, wind and solar. And hydro, if you've already got the infrastructure. I don't think building dams for hydro is an environmentally positive process. But if the infrastructure is already there and you've already done the damage, you might as well use it. For an economy like Australia, where we don't have nuclear power stations, I don't think we need them. I don't think it's a good decision. We have wind and we have solar. So that's interesting. If Japan reduces greatly its need for Australian coal for fuel, that'll be a positive. I guess they're still going to need coking coal for their metal industry, but that's a different question again. So that's good. That's a tweet from Simon Holmes of Court I was just reading. So all right, folks. Yeah, Stan's telling me I have to give up Twitter. I nearly did, Stan. I nearly did, but on reflection, I mean, the whole point of me doing this stuff is to reach people. And I would be reaching far less people if I just dumped off Twitter. But I am trying to grow the YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, even LinkedIn, Instagram, Threads, everything, to the point where I can be comfortable to just walk away from Twitter. But at the moment I can't be, because then you go back to the point where you're shouting into a void. At least now, you know, people with platforms do retweet me and do comment and answer and stuff like that, which is how social media works. I don't get interaction on Facebook. Facebook's a dead loss. Unless I'm talking about bird watching, and as I consistently find, bird watchers are not always the people who are really committed to conservation actions. As long as there's somewhere they can go to tick off a bird, often those people are not deeply committed or activists. And I think that's who I need to be talking to now. I'm not against talking to bird watchers, not at all, but I do find a lot of bird watchers, as long as they can take a trip to somewhere else and get ticks, they're quite happy. I'm generalising, of course, and I could be. Well, I know I obviously am. There are many bird watchers who are deeply committed conservationists, but I think they're already in the tent, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's a difficult one, because I'm really concerned about what Twitter is becoming. I saw a journalist who's really into analysing Twitter, has been doing it for like nearly 10 years. They reckon he paid $44 billion for something which they reckon is now worth about $7 billion. And that yeah, Stan saying, you stick with Twitter, that's fine, but just be aware you're dancing with Musk. Yeah, I'm doing the EV thing on Facebook and taking on the boomers. See, Stan, here's the thing. Twitter is Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is not Twitter. Facebook and Threads and WhatsApp and all the other things is Zuckerberg just as evil in terms of the harm that they are doing. And I think we're going to have... it depends if the government here is fair income about some of their statements about social media and regulating it. I'd really like if more people were using Discord and building communities on YouTube. But the simple fact is, most of the people in most of the demographic that are concerned about birds and biology and environment are not the people who are into the tech and are using some of the other platforms. So it's a devil's bargain, mate. I know, I totally understand it. I am really concerned about some of the people that have been let back on to Twitter, X. And some of the functionality, I mean, we used to... I'm glad I can stream to Twitter. I like it, and I like that there's people who are watching. I mean, there are more people watching now on Twitter than there are on other platforms. So that's important. But he ripped off part of the functionality. We used to be able to interact. Now I can't. And that's half the point of doing it. So, those of you on Twitter, thebirdemergency.com/YouTube or thebirdemergency.com/Facebook or thebirdemergency.com/Twitch. Then you can interact. You can join in. And you can join the community. Oh, Stan's got a new EV to review. I'm reviewing Toyota's new EV this week, and they gave me one to drive. There is a lot of hate for Toyota. Musk is next level evil, though, and I think they're all taking us for a ride. Oh, absolutely. Yes, Stan, I sort of giggle whenever I see all the Tesla stands. Not Stan as in you, but, you know. Did you see that Cybertruck video where the guy who bought the Cybertruck didn't know that you had to put it in a particular mode if you wash it, or if you put it in a car wash, but he'd washed it, and it basically just shuts down. And there's apparently some warning buried deep in the manual that you are not covered by a warranty, and the Cybertruck just becomes like a paperweight. I don't know why there's a lot of hate for Toyota. I do know that most of the car companies have delayed moving to EVs because they have so much investment in their engine plants and whatnot. They want to string it out for as long as they can. But governments need to force them to move, and I'm glad that some places are, and I'm glad it's starting to happen. I'd be interested to know what you think about the Toyota. I did see that there was a lot of hate for the Nissan Leaf, but they have apparently fixed the engineering issues they had with the first generation batteries. So hopefully they're going to be a much more preferable option for people to get. I would like some suggestions about e-bikes that people think are reliable but also have a large capacity battery, so that I could do something like, 100 kilometre sort of 150 kilometre trips to do bird watching and photography with gear. I think the Cybertruck is a complete joke, piece of junk. I'm a Polestar stan, says Stan. Polestar is my car brand. Toyota is the worst. They fought the fuel efficiency standards tooth and nails. Yeah, of course, because it's the old sunk cost thing. But if all the governments were serious and they just moved as a group, all the car manufacturers would instantly turn around. Now, Stan, you are quite right. There is a lot of e-bike content on YouTube. The problem I've found is when I've wanted to go and look at e-bikes for sale in Melbourne, I'm not finding many of the things that I look at online, and I think, oh, that would be great. And then I just can't find them locally. It's a big investment to buy something that you haven't seen and tried. And especially, I want to be sure that I can rig up some kind of trailer system as well. Anyway, I will keep researching. I was just hoping someone had one. I see a lot of these really cool looking delivery bikes around that have big pack racks, at the back. And I've seen plenty of modifications that you can do, but then I just never seem to be able to find where I can go and look at them and try them out and speak to people who own them. Anyway, I will keep going. There's no hurry. I'm certainly not hurrying. If anyone wants to sponsor me, provide me with an e-bike, to do, important trips, that would be great. Yeah, there should be stuff. What I always find, Stan, is I find out about them the day after they happen. It tends to be my thing. But I'll keep looking. I do regularly go around and look at e-bike shops and go in and talk to people, and I'm just not seeing the one that I want yet. But I'll keep looking, and I'm going to reach out and see whether I can snag someone to sponsor. I think that would be good. Imagine doing something like that 2-year trip, walking around Australia instead. Just I'm not sure that riding around Australia is something that would be more beneficial than making sure you went to all the burning hotspots. I'll give that more thought. I don't know if the symbolism is necessary. I'm not sure if the symbolism of going round the country is required for that. I totally understand it for your purposes, because you want to demonstrate that many, many people want to do round Australia, and you can demonstrate that you can do it in an EV without it being a massive hassle or a pain in the ass like people are trying to portray it. So yeah, I totally get that. But I'm not sure that going round Australia for key biodiversity areas. Yeah, I don't know. I'll give it some more thought. Got to work out what the hell it would cost too. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I said I was only going to be. I've gone over time. That's my point. Yeah. Thanks, Stan. Going to the bio hotspots, I think, is a good idea. I do think that's a good idea. I'll work that up a bit more. Yeah. I think getting out and doing something sort of community based is important, but also getting people to participate in things, doing a bird watching workshop, photography workshop at somewhere that people can access and see birds. Even more, I'm thinking identifying really good places on the edge of towns, in towns, between towns, rather than going out to the wilds, because that's hard to get people to join in. Anyway, folks, I think there we are. I said it was just chatting and a bit of news, and that's exactly what it's been. Thanks for the new people joining in. Join in as often as you like. That's the whole point of doing these live shows. Thanks, Stan. Enjoy chatting with you. What did you say about the days? I tell you what, you did tell me anytime other than Monday or Tuesday morning. Stan, thebirdemergency.com/calendar. Go and book yourself in when you feel like it, right? /calendar, Stan. You know that, thebirdemergency.com/calendar. Go and book yourself in, and we'll do it, and we'll talk about your planning for driving around the country in an EV, and maybe talk more about your garden and Kangaroo Island. And did I show the tweet? But Danny more about bioacoustic monitoring and there we go. Thanks, Stan. That'll be great. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be some kind of update on the glossies on Kangaroo Island, Stan. I'm going to chase Danny up about that because the paper's out. I haven't read it yet, but I will get into it. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with me again today on the Bird Emergency. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. TheBirdEmergency.com/YouTube for the best live streaming experience, because you can get in the chat and in the comments and join in. See you tomorrow. We're wedgie. Thursday, talking brush turkeys. If you're following, you'll get the notifications. Oh, Stan's saying, saw a flock of 11 on the glossies. Okay, let's talk about it next time. I agree. Cheers, everyone.